December 15, 1970, 11:42 p.m., Hawthorne Lodge, PA 307 near Moosic Lake, Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania. 43 adult residents and 6 staff go silent in one night. County officials announce an emergency relocation due to a gas leak at dawn. No intake logs ever appear at any hospital or shelter. The gate stands open. Bunks are made. Coffee cups sit half full and cold. What happened to Elaine Carter, age 19, and to everyone housed here? Elaine was 19 in 1970. 40 years later, her adult daughter, Rachel Carter, comes to find out what happened to her. In 2010, a lead will drag this place back into the light. The paper trail looks clean. The ground does not. Someone planned a disappearance, not a rescue. The building is plain red brick, 3 stories, with a west wing that weathered better than the rest. The east side slumps behind ivy and rot. The front porch sags over cracked steps. Inside, dust lies thick on the banister but not on the center of the stairs. Footpaths show recent traffic even after decades of neglect. A maintenance log from December lists heater service and a note about a faulty alarm that no contractor ever signed. The county press release uses the word temporary. Residents never returned for their property. Their personnel cards ended on December 14th. Hawthorne Lodge was a transitional home for adults 18 to 22. The program took in legal adults aging out of state support. No minors. It promised job help and short-term lodging. It operated on donations from a private foundation run by businessman Warren Whitfield. He sat on hospital boards and funded holiday drives. His name appears in yearbooks, ribbon cuttings, and gala photos. His money reached everywhere. On paper, the evacuation reads like swift care. The timeline does not match the night's traffic, reported by drivers along PA 307 around midnight. By sunrise on December 16th, the lodge is empty, bedding tight, records boxed, break room cleaned, calendars still on Tuesday. The sheriff cites safety and assures the press that everyone is safe in her partner facilities. No facility steps forward to confirm a headcount. No payroll shows a transfer of staff. In a place built to help young adults start over, every trace stops in 1 hour. The file says leak. The scene says logistics. One question remains unanswered and urgent: who signed for the bodies that never arrived? Someone still holds the real ledger, and it is not the county. Rachel Carter arrives in Lackawanna County on March 3, 2010, at 9:15 a.m. She carries an amended Ohio birth certificate and a sealed adoption summary. The documents list no hospital, no attending physician, and no original mother's signature. Elaine Carter, 19 in 1970, is listed in Rachel's adoption paperwork as the birth mother she's come here to find. A clerk in Scranton confirms the record was updated in 1971 by a private attorney tied to Whitfield Enterprises. The clerk gives the file number and a memo date, January 6, 1971. It is the first precise date Rachel has found since the night Hawthorne went dark. She drives PA 307 to the lake and pulls into Cooper's on Moosic Street at 12:22 p.m. 3 men at the counter turn and hold their stare a measure too long. The waitress places a coffee without being asked. Her tag reads Dolly. Rachel shows a photocopy of an intake card for Elaine Carter, 19. Dolly glances at the door and lowers her voice. She says the lodge used to send holiday donation lists. She says a name, then stops, and wipes the same spot again. Bert Henley, grounds, still alive. If you're smart, you go home, she adds. At 2:05 p.m., Rachel reaches the county archives. The building ledger for Hawthorne ends on December 14, 1970. A typed press release dated December 16 repeats temporary relocation. A maintenance call sheet shows a heater inspection scheduled for December 17. The signature line is blank. A donor list for Whitfield's foundation appears in a 1971 filing. 43 cash entries, all in odd amounts. The archivist, Martha Keene, remembers sirens the week of the blackout. She remembers trucks at night, not at dawn. She prints the microfilm frames and writes the time she saw them. Rachel calls Annie Boyd at 5:41 p.m., using a number pulled from a hospital auxiliary roster. Annie does not deny working at Hawthorne in 1970. She does not confirm it either. She asks how Rachel got her name. She asks if anyone else is with her. She says she cannot talk at work. She promises nothing. Then she whispers, he still checks on people who ask questions. If you want more cases reopened by facts, subscribe. At 7:03 p.m., a blocked number calls once and hangs up after 2 rings. Rachel reaches Hawthorne Lodge on March 4, 2010, at 8:41 a.m. The gate on PA 307 is open. The west wing looks intact. The east side lists behind heavy ivy. A no trespassing sign is sunbleached and split. She photographs the front porch and the broken latch. She notes the temperature, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and a light wind off Moosic Lake. She records the time allowed for the audio log. The front door hangs on a single hinge. Inside, the odor is damp and sweet. Dust covers the foyer, except for a path up the center stairs. The banister is sticky from moisture, not new paint. Rachel moves slow and keeps her light on the floor. The office to the right still has a brass plate, Matron. A file cart sits tipped against a bookshelf that is too shallow for the wall. The base molding does not line up. The hinge pins are exposed. She braces her shoulder and pulls. The shelf swings inward 6 inches and grinds to a stop. Behind it is a narrow white door with a brass hasp. The hasp is cracked and dark from age. She photographs the split and the screw pattern. The door opens into an 8x12 room with no windows. Shelves line all 4 walls. Cardboard storage boxes fill each shelf. Every lid carries a typed label, a name, and a date in December 1970. A yellowed form is thumbtacked above the center shelf. It reads, Personal Effects Storage, Holiday Placement Program, the 15th of December, 1970. Rachel reads each label into the recorder. Richard Moore, Lisa Randall, Mary Kay O'Brien. She lifts one box. It is heavier than expected. Inside is a man's pocket watch, stopped at 11:41. A claim ticket is taped under the lid. It promises return after the holiday trial placement. No signature appears on the bottom line. Box after box holds similar items. A church missal with notes. A veteran's pin. A locker key. Every box includes a claim ticket. Every ticket carries the same date. None carry a retrieval stamp. On the back shelf, 3rd row, Rachel finds Elaine Carter. The lid resists, then cracks free. Inside is a hospital bracelet, a folded note, and a wallet-size photo stamped January 1970. The note is typed, and the initials at the bottom are WW. Rachel photographs the bracelet, the note, and the January 1970 photo. She reads the typed line out loud at 9:06 a.m. Hold for holiday placement, return upon confirmation. The initials at the bottom are WW. She seals the items back inside the box and labels the lid with today's date. She uploads all images to a cloud folder from her phone. The signal is weak, but the files show as pending. She moves to the center shelf and starts a grid. Row A, B, C, the column 1 through 8. She calls each name, then the contents. Richard Moore's box holds a pocket watch stopped at 11:41. Lisa Randall's box holds a church missal with marginal notes. Mary Kay O'Brien's box holds a brass locker key, stamped 314. Every box includes an identical claim ticket. Every ticket lists December 1970. None include a pickup stamp. None show a staff signature. At 9:22 a.m., she finds a bound register tucked behind row C. The cover reads Hawthorne Residence Book. The entries from November 1968 through December 14, 1970, are consistent and neat. The handwriting on December 15th changes to a faster slant. The spacing shifts. The ink is a darker blue. The line for each resident lists the same outcome, special placement. The right margin says approved, WW. The bottom of the page reads all residents relocated. Personal effects retained. Rachel takes macro photos of the December pages. She uses a pencil across the paper edge to lift indentations on the sheet beneath. Letters appear in relief. She reads fragments, 3 city names, 2 are underlined. She notes a 2-letter code, CF, next to 2 residents. She does not know the meaning yet. She keeps reading the entries and cross-references the boxes. Names match 1 for 1. The last item is a manila folder wedged under the lowest shelf. It contains a donor report for the Whitfield Foundation, dated January 5, 1971. There are 43 cash entries. The amounts are irregular: $6,800, $9,250, $12,400, and more. Each line has a surname that appears somewhere on these boxes. There is no description for purpose. The totals feed a new account at a local bank. She returns to Elaine Carter's box at 9:41 a.m. A second paper is taped inside the lid. It is thin onion skin. The type is faint. The line reads placement, pending. Status, to be determined. The initials WW repeat at the edge. Who wrote the second notation on Elaine's file after December 15th? Rachel tests the county narrative against the record. The press release is dated December 16, 1970, 7:30 a.m., citing a gas leak and a Dawn relocation. A carbon copy from the clerk's file carries a typewriter ribbon mark and a creation stamp from December the 15th, 10:18 p.m. The announcement existed hours before any reported alarm. The utility company's emergency log shows no leak order, no dispatch, and no technician routed to Hawthorne that week. The maintenance sheet in the lodge office listed a heater check for December 17th with no contractor signature. 2 drivers report unusual traffic near PA 307 around 12:10 a.m. 1 notes 3 moving trucks turning off Elmhurst Boulevard toward the lake. Another sees 2 vans split at the Moosic Street light, 1 north, 1 south. The sheriff's statement says evacuation occurred after sunrise. The timelines conflict by 6 hours. Rachel pulls Penn DOT arterial traffic counts and finds a spike near Lake Scranton Road from 11:45 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. The spike does not repeat on adjacent nights. Hospital intake logs at Moses Taylor and Community Medical Center for December 16 show 0 new adult residents from county placement. The County Welfare Office has no transfer vouchers for Hawthorne staff. Payroll records do not show a temporary assignment. A memo from the Whitfield Foundation dated January 5, 1971, lists 43 donor remittances in cash. Amounts are irregular and match surnames on box labels inside the hidden room. The memo routes funds to a newly opened account at First National Bank, ending in 4417. Martha Keene provides microfilm frames from the Scranton Times. The story on December 17 carries a staged photo of an empty hallway. The caption credits Warren Whitfield for swift coordination with partner facilities. No facility is named. At the county archive, Rachel finds a dispatch sheet for the sheriff's office. The page for December 15th is intact. A handwritten note at 11:32 p.m. reads Traffic Control, PA 307, initialed SP. No related incident number appears. Rachel calls Bert Henley at 6:58 p.m. He answers on the second ring. He says the place was cleared during the night. He says the trucks left fast and quiet. He warns her not to repeat his name. He hangs up. Rachel lists the anomalies in her notebook and underlines the mismatched times. Who routed 5 vehicles out before any alarm sounded? Rachel documents Hawthorne as a scene without blood, but crowded with lives. In the dorms, every bunk is made military tight. A wall chart lists 43 adults by bed number and job track. The entries include housekeeping, grounds, kitchen, and clerical. The date column stops on December 14, 1970. The fire drill roster for December 15, 9 p.m., lists every resident as present with a check mark. The final signature line is blank. No initials confirm an all clear. The punch clock by the staff office shows the last card pulled at 10:02 p.m., December 15. 6 staff badges hang on hooks. None were reissued. A kitchen ledger shows meals served for breakfast and lunch on the 14th. Dinner on the 15th is marked holiday menu. The count is 49 plates. The next line is a long dash. A refrigeration log shows temperatures recorded at 5:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. on the 15th. No one logged a midnight check. In the clinic room, the medication log records adult vitamin supplements and 2 short courses of antibiotics. Doses align with residents over 18. There are no pediatric entries. A locked metal cabinet contains bandages, aspirin, and a ledger of supply orders. The final order is dated December 10th. The invoice shows delivery accepted by initials AB. The hall cupboard holds a canvas bag with 24 spare locker keys. Locker 314 is missing its spare. The brass key labeled 314 sits inside Mary K. O'Brien's box in the hidden room. Rachel lifts for random memory boxes and weighs them by hand. Each is heavier than an empty carton. Each holds a claim ticket stamped December 1970 and the phrase "return upon confirmation." None bear a retrieval stamp. The boxes match 1-to-1 with the residence chart. Elaine Carter's name appears on bed 2B. That bed is made and unused. A small envelope rests under the pillowcase with a typed line, "Hold, EC, see office." The office file drawers are empty. Only rails remain. On the ground floor, the back corridor shows scuff marks and dolly tracks toward the service entrance. A metal door there carries a keypad added long after 1970. The interior frame shows older screw holes and a replaced hasp. The soil outside is compacted along a straight path to the gravel lane. No prints survive. The pattern is still visible. If no one left in daylight, who walked them out at night? Rachel meets Annie Boyd on March 5, 2010, at 9:30 a.m., in a church parking lot off North Washington Avenue. Annie asks if Rachel is alone. Rachel holds up her phone and states she's recording. Annie nods once. She says she worked nights at Hawthorne in 1970. She says the holiday placement program was sold to staff as trial stays with vetted sponsors. She says residents were told to pack small items in labeled boxes. The boxes would stay in the office for safekeeping. Return was promised after the holidays. Annie says she helped type the claim tickets on December 15th. She says Warren Whitfield signed the approval page that afternoon. At 5:45 p.m., she was told to go home because her mother was ill. Her mother was not ill. At 6:10 p.m., Annie called the lodge. The line was busy. At 6:40 p.m., she tried again. No answer. She arrived at 7:55 a.m. on December 16th. Every bed was made. Every drawer was empty. 6 staff badges hung untouched. She asked the sheriff on site what happened. Sheriff Scott Pike said a gas leak forced a safe relocation at dawn. Annie smelled no gas. She says Whitfield kept insurance files in a safe at his house, not at the office. She delivered papers there in 2002 and saw the safe behind a family portrait. The study door required a thumbplate and a code. She says he plays golf on Thursdays from 9 to noon. She says house staff are told to take a break from 9 to 10 when he is out. She says the service entrance is at the back. She says the keypad code uses his birth date backward. She will not say the digits. Rachel asks about the notation CF in the register. Annie says it means Cedar Falls House, a private care address Whitfield funded. She says 2 residents were routed there long-term when they were hard to place. She says she asked once about their boxes. Whitfield said they wouldn't need them anymore. She has avoided saying that out loud for 40 years. She tells Rachel to stop. She says Whitfield still checks who asks questions. She says he has friends at the county and the paper. She says he calls people at night. Annie ends the interview and walks away without looking back. If the code is the birth date backward, what will the thumb verify? Rachel builds a working theory from the contradictions. The county claims a dawn evacuation. Witnesses place trucks near PAR 307 just after midnight. The press release was drafted the night before the alleged leak. The utility logs show no leak, no dispatch, no meter irregularity. The heater inspection was scheduled 2 days later with no contractor signature. Nothing points to an emergency. Everything points to a plan. She charts the campus on graph paper. Dolly tracks run from the west corridor to the service door. The service lane reaches the gravel pullout hidden from Musick Street. The residence chart lists 43 adults. The kitchen ledger recorded 49 dinners on December 15th. That number matches residents plus staff. The punch clock stops at 10:02 p.m. The sheriff's note traffic control, PA 307 appears at 11:32 p.m. The window between those times is the likely loading period. Every memory box contains a claim ticket dated December 1970. Each ticket promises return after confirmation. None show a staff signature. None show a retrieval stamp. The hidden register swaps to a slanted hand on December 15th. Each line reads Special Placement, Approved WW. The Whitfield Foundation report on January 5th shows 43 cash remittances. The odd amounts track to surnames in the boxes. A new bank account receives the total in early January. A sheriff's photo op in the paper shows an empty corridor and no names of partner sites. Rachel adds a missing piece from Annie Boyd. CF marks long-term placement at Cedar Falls House, a private care address. 2 residents carry the code. A home like that would not accept 43 adults overnight. It would accept none without intake files. Intake files do not exist. The most likely scenario is a staged evacuation. The trucks and vans split to different roads to avoid a convoy profile. Residents were processed off-site through private sponsors. The cash entries are the fees. The county language about the temporary relocation insulated everyone. She notes one more problem. The plan still required fast coordination and a master list. That list would show buyers, routes, and drop times. It would show exceptions and failures. It would be worth blackmail money for decades. The safe holds the route map, if she can open it. On March 11, 2010, at 9:07 a.m., Rachel parks 2 blocks from Warren Whitfield's residence in Scranton. Thursday is his golf day. House staff take a 1-hour break. She approaches the service entrance off the alley and reads the keypad. She enters a birth date in reverse, drawn from Whitfield's corporate filings and a charity gala program. The lock clicks on the 4th attempt. She states the time for her recorder and moves to the study. The portrait on the west wall swings out on hidden hinges. A safe sits behind it with a thumb reader and a keypad. Rachel dusts the desk pull for a clean latent print. She transfers a lift to a gel pad and tests the sensor. The light turns green. She keys the same reverse birth date. The motor engages. She photographs the hinges before opening the door. Inside are grey folders marked H1 through H43. Each holds a photo, an intake form, and an assessment dated 1969 to 1970. A second tab lists the placement. Most show private sponsors with addresses in 5 states. 12 list research partner with corporate names that no longer exist. Each file carries a payment receipt. Amounts match the January 5, 1971 remittances report. A ledger sheet totals the cash to a new bank account opened that week. Rachel photographs every page. She documents the order and the drawer. She reads the entry for Elaine Carter. The line states placement pending, special circumstances. A later note adds permanent residential care, Cedar Falls House. The column for monthly maintenance shows regular payments through the 1990s. The last entry says, "Continue until further notice." A small bound journal lies in a false bottom. The handwriting matches the slanted entries from Hawthorne's register. One line reads, "The 15th of December, 1970, final plan executed, sheriff cooperation, distribution complete by first light." Another page lists routes with initials and city codes that match Rachel's indentation rubbings. A separate slip shows phone numbers for 3 sponsors and a billing contact for a clinic that closed in 1976. A car door slams outside at 9:41 a.m. Rachel reseats the folders exactly as found. She closes the safe, resets the portrait, and exits the service door. She checks her recorder and confirms timestamps and file counts before reaching the sidewalk. If Cedar Falls House still operates under another name, who signs the invoices now? Rachel turns the files over to the FBI on March 15, 2010. At 8:30 a.m. Special Agent Dana Brooks scans the safe photos and the ledger pages. She notes the matching payment amounts and bank routing. She sees the 12 research partner placements. She flags the Cedar Falls House entries for immediate subpoenas. By noon, a magistrate signed search and seizure warrants for Whitfield's residence and office. At 2:14 p.m., agents execute the warrant at Whitfield's home. They recover the H1 or H43 folders, the bound journal, and the routing slip. They image 2 desktops and a server tower from his study. A banker's box holds First National Bank statements for account 4417 from January 1971. Deposit totals align with 43 remittances. A separate file contains invoices from Cedar Falls House, LLC, operating under a new provider number since 1994. The invoices list monthly care charges for 2 names marked CFO in the Hawthorne register. Agents detain Whitfield at 4:06 p.m. outside his downtown office. He asks for an attorney and says the records document private sponsorships under old standards. Brooks notifies the U.S. Attorney's Office. The initial counts include conspiracy, transport for unlawful purposes, wire and bank fraud, and false statements to federal investigators. Bail is requested and denied after the court reviews the safe photos and the journal line dated the 15th of December, 1970. On March 17, a federal grand jury opens. Subpoenas go to 5 states for the sponsor addresses. 2 addresses are now vacant lots. One belongs to a family trust closed in 1988. One returns a certified letter, signed by a surviving spouse who remembers a cash payment in 1971. She provides a receipt on Hawthorne letterhead for a placement fee, signed WW. The ink and paper stock test as period authentic. The government freezes 3 Whitfield accounts and files a lease pendens on his real estate holdings. A parallel state inquiry opens on the sheriff's office dispatch sheet. The respective initials at 11:32 p.m. match former Sheriff Scott Pike. He is served with a preservation order. He declines to comment. Brooks asks Rachel a final question before she leaves the field office. If Cedar Falls built for decades, where did Elaine Carter actually live? Jury selection begins on October 24, 2011, in federal court in Scranton. The indictment lists conspiracy, transport for unlawful purposes, wire fraud, bank fraud, and false statements. Warren Whitfield sits with 2 attorneys and a calm expression. The government's exhibit board shows H1 or H43 folders, the journal page dated the 15th of December, 1970, and account 4,417 statements. Judge Wallace admits the safe photos and the ledger as business records after a foundation hearing. Special Agent Dana Brooks testifies first. She explains the chain of custody from Rachel's photos to the FBI seizure. She links 43 cash remittances to the bank deposits. She maps the routes from the journal against Rachel's indentation rubbings and Penn DOT traffic spikes. Defense calls the placements private sponsorships common for the era. Brooks replies that no intake files exist, and that cash payments replaced lawful transfers. Annie Boyd testifies next. She confirms typing the claim tickets and seeing Whitfield initial the approval page on December 15th. She describes being sent home early for a false family emergency. She states the safe stood behind the portrait in Whitfield's study in 2002. Defense challenges her memory. The judge instructs the jury to weigh credibility against corroboration. The journal and the safe photos match her account. Martha Keene authenticates the microfilm article and the December 16 press release. She notes the press release creation stamp on December 15 at 10:18 p.m. She remembers sirens before dawn and trucks near midnight. Bert Henley testifies that the service lane showed heavy nighttime activity. He says he was warned to stop asking questions in 1971. He names Sheriff Scott Pike as the person who told him to be quiet. 3 survivors take the stand as adults who once lived at Hawthorne. Richard Moore recognizes his stop pocket watch and its claim ticket. Lisa Randall identifies her missile with marginal notes. Mary K. O'Brien identifies the brass key stamped 314. None ever received a return call from any sponsor. Each learned of their files only from the FBI. Whitfield elects to testify. He calls the program benevolent and legal. The prosecutor reads his journal line, "Final plan executed," and the phrase, "distribution complete by first light." He says he wrote poorly and meant logistics for temporary placements. The bank statements and the receipts on Hawthorne letterhead sit in front of him in silence. The jury hears closing arguments and receives instructions. What will the verdict decide about Elaine Carter's 40 years? The jury returns guilty on November 3, 2011, after 5 hours. The court convicts Warren Whitfield on conspiracy, transport for unlawful purposes, wire fraud, bank fraud, and false statements. Judge Wallace set sentencing for January 12, 2012. The government recommends a term that exceeds his remaining life. The court orders restitution from seized assets and freezes Whitfield's charitable accounts. The order directs a fund for Hawthorne's former residents and families. Agents execute follow-up warrants within days. Cedar Falls House, LLC, operates under a successor name on North Abington Road. Records show monthly invoices tied to 2 Hawthorne residents marked CF. One entry reads E. Carter. A nurse manager confirms a long-term adult client arrived in 1971 without family contacts. Intake forms list private placement. The client's property file holds a small envelope, a hospital bracelet, and a wallet photo stamped January 1970. The initials on the intake memo match WW. Rachel meets the client on November 10, 2011, with legal consent arranged through counsel. She documents the room, the facility license, and the care plan. She confirms identity through the Hawthorne ledger, the photo, and the bracelet number. She states the date and time for the recorder and notes the quiet in the hall. The facility administrator agrees to cooperate fully. The invoices continued because no one asked them to stop. On January 12, 2012, Whitfield receives 240 years. He shows no reaction. The court orders forfeiture of the account 4417 proceeds and 3 properties. A federal task force opens to locate all 43 former residents. 12 files list defunct research partners. The task force begins a document recovery plan through state archives and medical boards. The U.S. Attorney announces a civil process for claims against Whitfield's estate. In spring 2012, the county demolishes Hawthorne Lodge. A small memorial garden opens near Moosic Lake in September. 43 markers carry names from the residents' chart. Survivors reclaim their memory boxes through the evidence process. Richard Moore leaves his pocket watch with the display. Lisa Randall places her marked missile in the case. Mary K. O'Brien keeps the brass key stamped 314 and holds it during interviews. By 2013, 25 former residents are located alive. 8 are confirmed deceased. 10 remain unaccounted for. The fund pays for DNA testing and document searches. Rachel returns to the garden and reads each name into her recorder, one by one.